Hey folks, Brian Keeney with Occam Defense, and today we're going to talk a little bit about fitting magazines to AKs and fitting AKs to magazines. There are a few places where magazines can contact the receiver. It's a good idea, so long as you don't mind your finish getting scuffed up, to deburr right around this whole entry spot here. We like these $6 diamond files from Amazon for this stuff. You can just come along and, just kind of shine in those, and these diamond files break those corners really quickly. That'll often aid, especially with like softer plastics like Magpul magazines, in getting a good insertion. It doesn't hang up and kind of machine along that edge. Likewise for these inner rails here, I'm going to have the cameraman zoom in a little bit on these here. They're sort of the lower rail of what the bolt carrier rides on. Those guys can contact, and if you find, I've used Occam, this is one of our fitment magazines here. See these silver spots? May as well go over this right now. A really good fluid that you can use for indicating in. Sharpie works just fine, but Occam is not entirely made for this, but it works really well for it. You just brush this stuff on in a thin layer. That's a little heavy there, but you get the point. And let it dry for a minute. And then when you go to insert it, you can blow on it, or if you have air. We can blow that dry. Just let that hang. So then when we go to insert the mag, you can see that we've got some rubbing right here. You've got two options at that point. You can remove material from the receiver, which we're going to do, or you can remove material from the mag. Definitely not all mags will fit in all AKs, nor should they. Like we have, this is a Yugo mag here, and this one's right on the upper edge of what we like, and so that's what we use. But we have a couple that are over what we would tolerate. We don't fit our guns to those, and so we would just recommend either taking a file or a belt sander and removing these two faces with the file or belt sander on the magazine itself. It's a bit of a tricky issue with you, the user, of which one you modify. I would definitely modify the magazine before you modify the rifle. We test fit with 4 different kinds of mags. We use a Bakelite, a Magpul. You have to swap the Magpuls out fairly often because they machine in. X-Tech, and then these Yugos that are, as I say, rather chunky. So the second place, we already talked about the inner rail here contacting. That's usually the first thing that you need to tune in. The second thing, and I've left it long here, these guys by default, except if you're getting a used parts kit, but on new manufacturer AKs, there's a tang here. And again, I'll have the cameraman zoom in here. You're going to be sighting. See, this one won't go in, and it's not that this latch is too long, it's that tang right here is contacting against here. Again, we can use the Occam fluid for that. Right now it's pretty shiny. Just paint a little on. So now it's kind of a translucent blue. Run that in a couple times. And we can see that it's biting in along that back face. So if you don't want to modify the AK, take a file and file back along this face right here. In our case, we're going to modify that guy there with, you can use a lot of different stuff, but we use a mill file, and I like to just put it against the bench and carefully, you need to balance between hitting the trigger guard and hitting the center support. And you kind of need to find the middle ground. There's a middle ground right in there where you can get to that tang without seriously eroding the center support. going to try and take level strokes here without hitting the sheet metal. And then every now and then you want to look at, and I've nicked the center support a bit here, but I don't feel real bad about that. You're going to want to make sure that this is even. This is a little off. I've taken more off this side than this side. So now I'm going to correct and lean the file a little bit more this way. Actually, I'm going to take a slightly heavier file for this cut. After I've taken off a fair amount there, I'm going to test again. And now I still don't have any air. There's no light coming through this joint right here, so I should take a little more. It's now down a bit more. Now I've got just a sliver of daylight that's probably not going to come up on the camera. So for my purposes, we're good to go there. The last place where you can have problems is this latch right here. Getting a file in here, you can do it, but you run a real risk of scoring up the lettering or just the finish right here. We came up with this solution here where we just tore a chunk off a belt sander that is the width that'll fit down there. And so you can just put it in, remember how to do this here. Like that. It helps if you have a friend to hold right here while you do this, but then you're just going to pull out at an angle. Usually, 1 or 2 pulls is all you need to get a nice click. And now I've got a fair amount of mobility in this one. I'm going to check with the Bakelite. That's good. Check with the Next Tech. That's good. Check with our mag pull. It's a little tight on the mag pull, but it's within reason. So now if you have an already purchased gun that you don't want to modify, you're going to file this face right here. So again, the 3 places that you're going to modify on the mag, the first is, does it scrape on the sides? If so, probably polish down the sides or check those inner rails there. Deburr them as needed. If there's a sharp burr on there, that's not going to be good. Operation 2, check that there's just a sliver of daylight from here to that tang. If there isn't, either file the tang or file the back of the mag right here. Third part, if it gets all the way down, you can see a little daylight here, but it still isn't clicking, then either file this face on the mag or do the belt sander trick on your mag catch. Hope that's been useful for you guys. It's sure been nice for us when we've learned or figured out these little tricks with the belt sander belts. So yeah, hope you found it useful. This is Brian Keeney with Occam Defense. Thanks for watching.